I always joke that I'm a paedophile's dream. Unfortunately, last week, that came horribly true. So... the paedophile, he wanted to book me, but I'd just been booked by another client, so he saw another girl. And she said that he was a little bit creepy. There's something a bit sinister about him to the others, like, oh yeah, he's probably a paedophile, whatever. I then went to do an intro to the room after she'd left, and he chose me. And it started off at the beginning. He was sitting down on this stool, and I was sitting on the bed, and I was just smoking, and he was like, come over here. And I'm like, nah, don't really want to. I'm pretty comfy over here. He's like, no, come over here. I'm like, nah, I really don't want to. You know, there was something really evil about him from the moment you stepped in that room. And he kept saying it, just come over here, come to me. Like, I need to teach you how to kiss properly. Things like that. And I was like, you're not used to people saying no to you, are you? Like, he was very controlling. And then he extended for another hour. And we got to the point where we were pretty much having sex. And he was like, okay, so what's the darkest thing that you've ever done? I was like, well, I haven't really done anything dark, you know, that I'm not into that. I'm not a weirdo. It doesn't do it for me. He's like, what about incest? I was like, nah, I've got to be honest, fucking my brothers is not high on my agenda. Then he goes, okay, so what else? I was like, no, your turn. What's the darkest thing you've ever done? Now he turns around and he goes, I fucked a 9-year-old. And I was sitting on top of him at this point. I just looked at him and I was like, you are an absolutely disgusting human being. And most girls at this point would have kicked him out of the room and told him to fuck off. I thought, okay, he's just told me something, and, you know, this involves a kid. I'm going to find out what I can, and I'm calling the police. You know, I'm going to tell them everything that I possibly can, because even if it turns out it's just a fantasy of his, you know, he's still fantasizing about having sex with children. And that is so wrong. And then at least, you know, police can look out for this guy. You know, they know that he's a weirdo. And he told me in graphic detail pretty much it was horrific. And at the end of the booking, I took him downstairs and I showed him out. He was white and he was shaking because he was so scared, because he knew that I was going to report him. But I went back up to the room and I couldn't touch the towels, I couldn't touch the sheets, just anything that person had touched, I just couldn't be in that room. I was trying not to cry, you know, I felt like I was in the position of that little girl. I felt like I was that 9-year-old that he wanted to abuse. And I said to him, so when you're sitting down on that stool over there telling me to go to you, that's what you say to her, isn't it? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, and you picked me because I'm the youngest looking person here? And he was like, yeah, exactly. And towards the very end, he was still trying to wank himself off, and he said to me, oh, can you finish me off? I can't, I need the feel of a child's hands on my cock to make me come. And I was like, you are absolutely fucking despicable, okay? Why the fuck would I touch your cock when you've made a child touch you? You are disgusting. And at this point, he got up to get dressed, and I was like, where the fuck do you think you're going? And he goes, oh, well, you're just going to sit there and smoke and, you know, just not do anything, aren't you? And I was like, no, you're going to sit the fuck down. I've got some questions I want to ask you. So he sat down, and I carried on asking him questions. And I said to him, so if I called the police right now, would you be scared? And he turns around and he goes, yeah, I'd be really scared. And I was like, good, you should be fucking scared, because I'm going to. It's, you know, it's one thing to have a fantasy about, you know, a schoolgirl. You know, I've had those, you know, I've had clients go, okay, you sit on the stool over there and I'm your teacher. You know, it's, you know, you're pretending you're like a teenage student, you know, you're, you know, an 18-year-old, you know, basically an adult, not a little girl. You know, she's prepubescent. She's a child. It's wrong. It's so disgustingly wrong. And he was just, he's a monster. you know? It was just, there's not even words, you know, being in the room with that person. You know, I've met someone who was actually truly evil, and it's gonna take a lot to be able to deal with what I heard that day. You know, I probably will go and talk to someone about it to try and just, you know, figure out how I feel about that in my mind, because the position that he put me in was that I was that child, and I left that room feeling like I was that kid. So, you know, if I felt that bad, then God knows how bad she felt. And that's her life that he's destroyed, and it's wrong.
Did you call a cop sign?
I told the receptionist downstairs, and she's spoken to the manager who I saw yesterday, and she said yes, they are reporting him because he paid by credit card, and to pay by credit card you also have to have an ID, which they photocopy. So we've got a photocopy of his details, of his card, you know. It's gonna happen. He's gonna get done for this, so.